I have a lot of books on my Kindle, and my Kindle for the past few years, that's been the main way that I've read books. I usually do read ebooks either from the library or from Kindle Unlimited, or I might buy them off of Amazon. But the point is, I have a lot of Kindle books and I have a lot of storage, which is great. Having the books and then not reading them is kind of silly. I want to try to get my Kindle TBR down to something a little more manageable. So, what I've decided to do is put all of the books that I have on my Kindle that I have not read and put them all onto a giant wheel spin. And I'm going to spin the wheel and we're going to try probably for 3 books. I think that's the most manageable. I'm looking right now, there's over 200 books. There's 201 that I have not read. I don't really feel like choosing like 5 books and maybe over the course of 1 to 2 weeks, there could be a chance that a lot of those books are very big books and that's going to take me a long time to read and I don't want to rush it. So I think 3 is manageable. And while 3 out of 201 may not be a lot, it's a start, okay? You got to give me that. It's a start.
This is my stream setup, which from the intro of this video is not too much different than what you just saw. Well, look at that. 201. And I'm pretty sure that I may have grabbed a book last month for like the Kindle First Reads. I think this is the most up-to-date and accurate though. A lot of these books, they either came from Kindle First Reads because I do have the Kindle Unlimited monthly subscription, or they're like the free books that you can get on the Stuff Your Kindle Day. And some I've bought like a long time ago. Some of these have been sitting on my Kindle for a very long time. Some a little more recently, but quite a few are probably pretty damn old. We have a lot to choose from. We're going to do this 3 times. Hopefully it's books that I'm excited to read because I did go through prior to this and I tried to clean out some of the ones that I got that were free books, like from the Stuff Your Kindle Day that I was just grabbing because they were free. And I figured it's a free book. Why not? I'll probably read it, and then just never did. So I actually have done a clean out prior to even starting this, which says something considering there's still 201 books on here. Let's see what happens. Let's see what we get. I should probably write these down. Find a pen. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I think this was one of the Kindle First Reads, and I started reading it like a year or so ago, and I didn't get very far. I may have gotten a couple of chapters in, but it just wasn't really grabbing my attention, and so I just put it back. I undownloaded it or whatever on Kindle. I was like, I'll try again later. It just wasn't catching my attention. Hopefully I like it better this time. All right. Book 1. Okay. Book number 2. What are we gonna get? I think this one, The Devil Makes 3, I think is a fairly recent one that I picked up. In the last year, fairly recent, but I don't really remember anything about it, to be honest. All right, that's book 2. 2 down, 1 to go. All right, big money. Give me something good. All right. Because I don't know how I feel about these first 2. And I don't know anything about this. Does not ring a bell at all. Now we're down to 198. So that's good. I'm hoping that I can at least enjoy these 3 books. I'm not going to look up the summaries until maybe right before I decide to read them. I just have a feeling that there's a high chance I may not love these books, and which is okay. But I do hope that I can still enjoy them. I'm hoping I don't DNF. Wish me luck, because This is a series that's going to go on for quite a while, as you can tell, since there's 198 books. If I only do 3 to maybe 5 in the future, it's going to take a while, and I'm sure that I'm going to acquire more books along the way. And actually, I don't think I included some of these. I need to go and look, because I have the Jade City trilogy or Greenbone Saga, whatever. I have those 3 books on Kindle, and I've had those for a long time. However, me and my friend Keisha were going to buddy read that series, and I don't know if I put those on there. I feel like if I was smart, I wouldn't, but that doesn't mean anything. I only have the 1 brain cell, so anything could have happened. So those are our 3 books, and I will keep you updated as I read them and let you know what I think. And we'll slowly but surely work our Kindle TBR down, maybe to 0, over the course of a few years. You know what? It's a start. You got to give me some credit. At least I'm starting. We have our 3 books. I will put them on the screen here. The only thing that is even relatively familiar about any of these is that the first one, the Anti-Heroes book, I remember not being super into at the time that I tried to read it the first time. The second one, I'm pretty sure I picked it up within the last year, maybe 2 years. I want to say it was a free book. I'm not sure though. And the last one, I have no memory of. I don't know anything about that one, and I don't really know anything about the second one either. This should be interesting.
I did start last night on my Kindle Read It or Delete It challenge, and I spun a wheel and ended up with the Anti-Heroes. This one is in Amazon First Reads, and I did actually start this one, I would say at least a year ago, maybe a little bit longer, but it's been over a year, and I did a soft DNF at the time. I got through, I think it was maybe like 50 pages, maybe. And I've read the first 2 chapters, and I remember why I DNF'd the first time. The characters are just so damn annoying. We have like 2 POVs, and the first one is Emily, the second one is Liv. The first character, Emily, is a little woe is me. She's working at a university, just not really loving what she's doing, because we have a small glimpse in that first chapter from her. She used to do a lot of activism before she got into university, and she's settled into a routine. She has a really nice boyfriend, good career, good life, good apartment, good everything, but it's just fine. And I understand that, but the way this character comes off is just so obnoxious. Even something small like the apartment that she has, her boyfriend doesn't live with her technically, but he stays over quite a lot. The friend, Liv, who is in the second chapter, and the other point of view, she's the realtor, and she helped her friend Emily get this apartment. Emily's like, oh, I wanted an apartment with a view of the lake, but my boyfriend convinced me to get one that's like, I don't know, western facing or something. It faces the parking lot, simply because there wouldn't be as much heat coming into the house if she was facing the parking lot, an apartment that faced the parking lot. Therefore, she wouldn't have to run the air conditioner as much, which helps the environment. And she's like, well, I'm all about helping the environment. She's a very environmentally aware person. I'm just going, he didn't make you do that. It's your apartment though. You could have just been like, I could get blackout curtains, which would then help stop all of the heat from the sun coming in, which then I still wouldn't have to run the air conditioning as much. There are ways around this, just simple things like that. It's just a constant in that first chapter of like, oh, woe is me, my life is so boring. But a lot of these were your choices. I don't know, buckle up and shut up. But the second character, Liv, she is the exact type of person, if I knew them in real life, I would ghost you immediately. I would hope that maybe I would give you a reason and try to help you with all of your, oh, this is why I can't do this, this is why I can't do that, but so obnoxious to the point where I'd be like, I'm done with you, I can't. Because she's a person who apologizes constantly as a people pleaser. Not even a recovering people pleaser, I still do it. I'm very much aware of being like, someone else is like, you know, if they bump into you in the store and you go, oh, sorry, but it's not your fault. It's like that times 100 with her. She has this thing where she calls them the Lulu moms, like the Lululemon, but it's all moms. They dress in Lululemon. They dress in like really cute athleisure wear. They all go to the same spin class. And so we meet her while she's going into a grocery store, and the Lulu moms are there. Liv is trying to get ingredients to make dinner for her niece and nephew. All she has to do is basically just say like, oh, excuse me, and like, you know, reach onto the shelf to get whatever it is she needs. She comes across so meek and so timid, and she just gives up. She'll try once like oh, excuse me, very softly. And when they don't hear her, because of course they wouldn't, she's not really making an effort to say to them like, hey, excuse me, and be polite. And then if they don't listen, just move their damn cart. She's not going to do that. So she tries once and then just gives up, because she tries it. She's like, oh, I need this pasta sauce. I need this olive oil. I need this pasta. I need chicken. One interaction where she can't just immediately grab and go, and she just gives up, just walks away. It's so pathetic. And again, as someone who is a people pleaser, and as someone who used to be very timid, very meek, I get it, okay? I understand, but goddamn, is it annoying. Her whole chapter was so obnoxious. I got to the end of that second chapter and I was getting ready for bed, and Tian was sitting next to me, and I looked at him and I was like, I remember why I DNF'd the book the first time. The characters are just so unlikable, so annoying. I just can't with them. So we'll see how this goes. It's a short book. I want to say it's like under 300 pages. At most, it's a little over 300, but so far it's not looking good. This one might get deleted and I won't feel bad about it. Ignore this. This is from my birthday stream a few days ago, and it is now Monday. I have officially finished The Anti-Heroes by Jan Lancaster. That was the first book I chose for, well, I spun a wheel for the Kindle Cleanout, and I soft DNF'd a couple years ago, thinking maybe I'm just not in the mood for this. Maybe this just isn't for me right now. However, rereading it now, it still wasn't for me. I ended up giving this a 2 and just overall did not have a great time. I know I did a bit of an update like right when I first started this, but the book itself is really short and I just wanted to get it done and over with. We follow these two main characters, Liv and Emily, and it's just a two-person POV. It's Liv and Emily. We bounce back and forth between the two of them. So we start out with Emily, and she works at this university with environmental sciences. She wants you to just be aware of what your actions do and how they affect Earth. Emily used to be in this group called Planet Blue Love. They weren't sponsored by any government, which means they were the type of folks who would do a lot of protesting, and then you see them getting arrested, which is fine. Like, it made it more interesting. They would go down to the Antarctic and try to stop whalers. They would be in the rainforest trying to prevent deforestation or hunting of certain animals. So she had this really wild life before she got into the university. But now she works at a university, and her life can best be described as, you know, the millennial beige. I hate that term, but it works in this description for her. Overall, Emily is just not happy with her life. She's dating like the head of their department, who's a really nice guy. He's a nice person. Compared to her past life, she's bored with him, but she won't end it. And then on the flip side, Olivia, who goes by Liv, is a people pleaser times 100 billion. She doesn't say no to anyone. She always puts herself last, and she pretends that she thinks that she'll assert herself in certain situations, and she absolutely doesn't. She folds at just the drop of a hat. And as I would say not even a former people pleaser, because I am still a people pleaser, I get it, but this is such a dramatized version of a people pleaser. It's exhausting and annoying. I hated Liv. I hated everything about her character. She was the most obnoxious character in the whole book. We do end up meeting a slightly larger cast of characters, because the premise of the book is that Liv and Emily go and meet up for coffee one day, and the place that they're meeting up, it gets robbed. This guy comes in, wears like a plastic horse head or something, holds everybody up at gunpoint, and while the barista is, you know, getting all the money out of the cash register, everybody is just, you know, kind of staying low, staying quiet, which is probably the best move anyway. But Emily in her head is like, oh my God, why don't I do something? Why don't I do something? Action Emily, that was her nickname before she was Beige Emily. She's like, if I was Action Emily, I would have already had this person on the ground. To everyone's surprise, this Liv calls them the Lulu moms because it's all of these like stay-at-home moms who wear Lululemon and they all go the same spin class. It's, you know, the very big characterization. She has her kid with her, this Lulu mom. So she makes sure her kid is kind of pushed out of the way. She grabs her Stanley Cup, smacks the robber over like in the face, and then she picks up her kid's stroller and whacks him with it. And it knocks the gun out of his hand. None of them grab for it though, but then the police are called, everything's fine. The lady that took the robber down, she was like, yeah, she was like giving her statement to the police and is basically telling the police, but also everyone that was in the coffee shop, yeah, I used to be just a nobody, nothing who was scared of the world. But then I signed up for this course called Fearless Inc. And now I'm strong and I'm sure of myself and I can do anything. Okay. The group ends up like all individually at different times go back to this coffee house after this is done because they're all thinking about how they wish they would have reacted differently and about this fearless ink that the lady was talking about. So they go back to the coffee shop and they all, you know, pull a little tab off of the flyer and they start going to this fearless ink meetup group. And the guy who runs it, he calls himself Zeus. They don't get any further information about him, just his name is Zeus and he's here to help you, you know, defeat your fears. And that's basically the whole book. They go off on some tangents. There were a couple things that I don't think were necessary. It just kind of felt like the author wanted to go in a certain direction at times and then either forgot what they were doing or were like, oh, well, I need to get back to the main storyline. I'll wrap this up later, and then just never did. It felt meandering. It felt really pointless. The characters were completely unlikable. There was nothing about this that made me go, oh man, I should just try to step out of my comfort zone. And, you know, it doesn't mean I have to go stop a robbery, but like I could step out of my comfort zone and like go try a new fitness class or like go join a meetup group and meet new people. I didn't care about any of these characters. They were very dramatized to the point of being ridiculous. So I don't know if the author was trying to do this in a satirical way, but it just came off as annoying. And this is not the first book I've read by this author. I also read The House Moms, I think at the beginning of 2024 or in 2023. So it's been a couple years. And I liked that book more. That also just didn't really end well. It just kind of ended and it was fine, but you know, it didn't wrap anything up. And I am not a person who needs an ending to be wrapped up neatly in a bow, but there's ending it with like a cliffhanger or ending it having the reader question, oh, it could have gone this way or that way or that way. And then there's just ending a book in nothing. And just ending a book into nothing seems like this author's MO. And that's fine, but it just was very boring. None of the characters are likable. Your story is really boring. Your story just, it made me upset at the characters and not in a way where you want to root for them. It just made me upset at them to be like, then shut the up and change it. It's not like you needed this grandiose big change in order to change their individual lives. It was as simple as Emily just speaking to her current partner about how she's unhappy. It was also about Liv talking to her family about compromises. And if they don't listen, all right, well, I'm out. You've done handouts to them for years. You've bent over backward, basically given up your entire life to make them comfortable. You can leave, but you want to play the victim. It's just annoying. I didn't want to root for any of these characters. And at the end, you're supposed to be like, oh my gosh, now they're, secure in themselves and they can do all these great things. Can they though? I don't think so. They may have changed for the moment, but they're still really obnoxious. And I'm not sure that they've actually grown at all. So 2 stars, and I think that's being incredibly generous. This one's definitely getting deleted. I was on a roll the other day and finished The Devil Makes Three by Tori Bovalina the other day, and that was the second book that I read for this Kindle Cleanout. I ended up giving this a 3.5. I'm still kind of on the fence. I don't know if it should be a 3 or a 3.5, but this was far better than The Anti-Heroes. Above and beyond. This is a YA dark academia horror novel. It follows two characters, Tess and Elliot, and they end up releasing a devil in the school library that they're at. I keep forgetting that these characters are only, I want to say like 16 years old, because the way they're at a boarding school and the way that it reads sometimes is that they're kind of university age. So in my head, I kept making them like early 20s, but then something would happen and I would go, oh wait, I forgot. They're only 16. They're just in high school. We follow this young woman named Tess. She is an absolute genius at playing the cello and had a scholarship, I think, to Boston Conservatory for high school, but she turned it down so that her and her sister Natalie could go to this expensive, fancy boarding school. And the premise with the boarding school is that if you're in, you've got a job by the end of it. Like, you're gonna get into a great university and you're gonna get a great job. Doesn't really matter what else you do. And their home life is not great. Their parents are fighting all the time. She gets parentification? I don't know if I'm saying it right, but when an older child is essentially turned into the parent of a younger child, that's what happens in this book. Her younger sister Natalie is about 3 years younger. I think she's 13. And Tess is just trying to hide all of the family fighting. Her dad fucked up and like was just throwing money into this sinking stationery store that he had. And her mom has been fired. So money's really tight. They're not doing so hot. And Tess is trying to hide all of this from Natalie just to, keep her happy, keep her safe. The parents aren't really doing a great job. And so they have this great aunt who works at the high school, this private boarding school, and she manages to get the girls in like mid-semester, which is unheard of. They don't do that. And then Elliot is the child of the headmaster. Elliot is working on essentially his senior thesis is the best way to describe it, even though he's in high school. And then Tess works in the library as a work study so she can help pay for the boarding school for her and her sister. One day, while Tess is pulling yet more books for Elliot, they end up releasing a demon from the underground basement of the library. The library was already rumored to be haunted. Tess is like, I don't really believe it. There's just like, it turns into this whole fucking mess, man. It's actually pretty creepy. One day, while Elliot is requesting yet more books, because he's already requested like 147 and Tess is pissed. He's requesting another book. Elliot asks if Tess can take him down to the basement where the more dangerous books are kept. And there are a lot of books about witchcraft and about magic, it's a lot of grimoires. There are a lot of grimoire books and witchcraft books and summoning spells in this library. I don't really know why, but there are. I mean, for the sake of the book, I know why. But there are a lot of dangerous books that have dark spells, incantations, and those are kept in the lower levels. Tess agrees. They go downstairs. They accidentally open up this secret door that goes to a lower level in the basement, where they end up accidentally releasing the devil or a demon. They don't really know. But it starts haunting Tess. It gets really creepy, actually. A handful of times. It's a pretty creepy book. So I guess 3.5 is I think that's a fair rating now that I'm thinking about it and talking about it out loud, because I was giving myself a day to just kind of sit with my thoughts. I do better if I don't immediately give things a star rating. So 3.5 sounds fair now that I'm thinking about it. This book is rather short. It's less than 400 pages, but the author jam-packs a whole lot of stuff happening in those 360 pages. There's magic, there's witchcraft, there's devils, I guess hauntings technically, and possession, because of the devil, It's really creepy. It was actually, compared to Anti-Heroes, it's so much better. And I really enjoyed this. I had a good time with it. It was scary, but not terrifying, if that makes sense. It was a fun scary, which is a weird way to put it. I think this was a good time. And also, if you like slow burn, because it does have a little bit of romance in it, the two main characters, they don't start off on the best terms. But if you like a good slow burn, also recommend. I don't know if I will keep this forever because I think this was also a free book of the month from Kindle Unlimited. I got it for free. I can't be mad about that. We love free. That's our favorite price. So I don't know if I'll keep it forever, but I think I'll keep it for now. It's safe for now. It will not be deleted this time. So we have 1 and 1. One got deleted, one is staying. I guess we'll find out how the third one fares and if the odds will tip one way or the other. Well, they kind of have to. It's either getting deleted or it's staying. We'll see what happens. That means our last book is In Our Likeness. I don't remember the author at the moment, sorry, but I believe this is a science fiction book, and I started it last night. I got about 70 pages in. It's pretty good. I'm intrigued. I'm liking it more than I thought I would, and I want to know what happens. I'm enjoying it so far. I hope that continues, and I'm probably going to finish it today. I'm in the middle of sprints with Gavin right now. He's doing some public reading sprints. This is also a short book. All of these Kindle books have been rather short, which is nice because I've had a lot of books recently that were pretty big and chunky, and that can be a little exhausting when you're reading giant book after giant book after giant book. So having some nice, shorter, easier to read books, it's a nice little break for my brain. And this is definitely different than the last two books because Anti-Heroes was a contemporary. The Devil Makes Three is a dark academia horror. And then In Our Likeness, I do believe, is a sci-fi horror. Okay, I just checked and Storygraph has this as a literary fiction, which if you've watched my last two videos on the best books of 1987, I don't care for literary fiction. This is reading more sci-fi to me right now. I understand where the literary fiction, why they're calling it that. We start out by following this character named Graham, and he works at new tech company that they do a lot of work with chatbots. There's a lot of techie lingo in it that I don't really understand. They essentially use AI, they're training AI to help chatbots. Like if you're on a banking website and you're like, how do I open a checking account? Or if you want to make an airplane reservation, that you can use the little chatbot to help you out. One of Graham's coworkers was on a project. This sounds like a very typical scenario for coders. His coworker has been on a team. They're creating this new chatbot. And she says to him, hey, can you try to break it? Sends him the link and he opens it up and he's, messing around with it. He's trying to break it and weird things start happening. He's changing things and then feeding it to the bot that is learning because the whole premise of the bot is to find false truths and lies on the internet in general, which that's everywhere. So the entire internet is a lie, okay? I don't know how this bot was gonna work. So it's being trained to find lies. So he's going in there, he's trying to break stuff, and he's putting a bunch of lies. He's implementing things that he knows are untrue, and then he feeds it to the bot to learn. Things start going weird. The lies become truth. And I know that sounds really weird. It's kind of hard to explain without giving away too much. But I'll check back in when I'm done with the book because I don't know, maybe it's going to go in a different direction. But so far, it seems like he's changing shit and that's the new truth. After he changes it, it's the new truth. And it's freaking him out and it's kind of freaking me out too. I just need all of you. Look at it. Look at it. I love mugs. And I love the state fair, and I love Minnesota. I just look at it. And it's a pretty color, but that's not why we're here. So, I finished In Our Likeness. What did I, let me, hold on. Hold on. I'm not fully prepared. It's 10:30 in the morning when I'm filming this, which in my brain, my immediate response to that is, girl, you've been awake since 7 and up since 7:30. Why are you not ready? But listen, that's neither here nor there, okay? We're working on forming a routine. It's difficult. So In Our Likeness was the third book for my Kindle Cleanout, and I enjoyed this. It's a sci-fi. I ended up giving it a 3.5. I don't think I ended up reading the summary really for any of these actually, but the basis of this book is we're following this main character. What is his name? I forgot. Graham. And he works for like an AI company. Basically, they kind of create the stuff that is like a chatbot when you go to a website, and a little chatbot will pop up in the corner and is like, hey, do you need help? And so you can type into that chat box and it can kind of help direct you if you have certain questions. He works for this particular company. His boss is a little eccentric, a lot eccentric, and not necessarily in the best way. And his coworker, Nessie, she is on this project and creates a new chatbot and, gives it to him one day and is like, try to break it. That's a very engineer thing of them to do. They're like, hey, here's my project. I want you to try to break it so they can figure out if there are any issues they need to work through. So he opens the program on his laptop at his house and he starts messing with the program. And I guess the basic function of the chatbot is to find lies and then let people know while they're searching the internet, hey, this is a lie. Graham has the bot open and he's messing around with it. The coworker that created the bot, Nessie, has a full sleeve on one of her arms, a full sleeve with tattoos. And so he opens up a picture. There's like 2 folders or files in this program. And so he goes into the non-active one. This is what happens when a non-technological person tries to explain something techie. It's not gonna go well. But there's like 2 file folders essentially in this program. And he goes to one of them and finds pictures of Nessie because it has access to a lot of stuff. Like probably way more stuff than it really should. He uses Photoshop to erase the tattoos on her arm. And then he feeds that information into the other file folder that the bot is pulling from to see if it'll catch it and be like, wait a minute, that's wrong. But then the next day he goes to work, her entire sleeve is gone. She has no tattoos because he went through and like not only photoshopped all her tattoos out, but he went and basically created fake posts on different Facebook groups, making her into a totally different person, the complete opposite of who she actually is. But then when he goes into the office the next morning, she's acting exactly like that. And he's like, what is happening? He's like, where are the tattoos? What's going on? And from there, it just keeps going downhill because at that point, it takes a little bit of time, but he slowly realizes and he thinks he's losing his mind. But he's going, we're changing reality. He goes, I don't know how, but with this particular AI bot, we're changing reality. And it's really scary. I won't spoil the book, but the eccentric boss has a lot to do with it. The eccentric boss is in on it, and Graham unknowingly kind of falls into the trap, basically rewriting reality. It gets so creepy towards the end with how much reality changes. And towards the end of the book, reality's changing like with each page turn. I really enjoyed it. The ending was a little bit sad. I wasn't expecting it. I kind of figured the direction that was going. I was like, this is not going to be a happy ending. It's not going to be sunshine and rainbows, but it was a lot more sad than I thought it was. And it's really scary. Like the take on AI and its use in the real world and the day-to-day life. I really enjoyed this. I ended up giving it a 3.5. It will also be staying for now, much like The Devil Makes 3. So that one will not be deleted. That one survived. I like a good sci-fi. I've not read a ton of sci-fi since I've picked reading back up as a hobby, but I really want to get back into it. And I think this was a good example because it's a short enough book and it packs a lot into this book. And taking real life things and putting it into this book, because AI is becoming more and more prevalent to a lot of day-to-day lives. And to see that represented in a book, God, I hope what happened in the book doesn't actually happen, because when things start changing, it really is just rewriting reality. What you think is reality, because then it starts to get real trippy too, because the characters start going, okay, but is this the reality that I know? Do I know the same reality that you know? Are the realities that we think we know, are they even real? It starts to get into that kind of territory, which normally I don't like, because it's too trippy and I'm like, we're getting a little goofy here. It worked for this book. So anyways, I do recommend 3.5, and it will not be deleted. Unlike the AI chatbot where you could get deleted in the book. That would not be good. Luckily, that's not what's actually happening here.
And that is our first episode of Kindle Cleanout. We only deleted one book. And by we, I mean me. 1 out of 3, not bad. And honestly, I'm not disappointed in that, because again, there were over 200 books, and I'm sure I'm going to accumulate more. 200 books, that number, if I'm not going to read all of them, or if I read them and I'm like, oh, it's fine, it's whatever, then they can just go. You know, a lot of the books on there were from like the Kindle Unlimited first reads, or I've gotten them from a Stuff Your Kindle day. So it's not like I spent money on them. Sorry if you can hear the sirens. I've got the window open. But a lot of the books in that list were from Stuff Your Kindle days, the Kindle Unlimited first reads. They were free, so I'm not really losing any money. I also do tend to wait until books go on sale, like the ebooks go on sale, so that also helps. But again, there's over 200 books. I'm just going to keep getting more ebooks, because that's easier to manage rather than a physical library. I have accumulated a few more physical books, which is nice. I do enjoy physically reading a book, but it takes up less space in my house if I have ebooks. And I can also take the Kindle when I'm traveling, or if I just want to not be in my house and read, if I want to go somewhere else. So that was our first episode. I'm going to try to do this fairly regularly, so that way I can kind of work my way through my backlog on my Kindle, because otherwise I'm just going to forget that they're there. Unless I have a book that I'm going, okay, I'm going to like buddy read this book. Like I'm buddy reading Jade City right now with my friend Keisha, and I have the trilogy on my Kindle. Or if I decide, oh, I'm going to take part in Magical Readathon, oh, I have the ebook version of this book that's going to work for that prompt. For some reason, when I'm looking for a book or like wanting to create a TBR for the month, my first reaction is not to go into my Kindle and see what do I have on here that I could read, and maybe not just have it sit there for another who knows how long. So we're trying to fix that. But that is episode 1. Let me know if you've read any of these books before, or if you would be interested in reading any of these. I really liked In Our Likeness. It was kind of trippy, but it's a good time. Devil Makes 3 was a very interesting take, because the way they use the devil in the ink of the books, I don't know how much I discussed of that in the review, but that was a really interesting take to me. It wasn't just like you read a book and a devil pops out and he's chasing you around a school or something. They used a very different tactic of like using the ink in the books with the way to attack the characters. So that was nice. And then Anti-Heroes, not for me. It got deleted for a reason. But thank you for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'm going to try to do this pretty regularly. I'll probably do at least one more before the year is up. I don't want to overload my monthly TBR, because I already have ideas in mind and then the books I need to read for them. But maybe some of those books are on my Kindle and I just don't know. I need to start checking it more often. But until next time, thanks for watching. Bye.